LTX2 has just released its new video generation engine, and you will be able to run it, even locally, and do an enormous amount of things. And I've tested it for you. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can launch and test LTX for free, but also how to install it on your computer, and also show you all the features that are interesting. One absolutely brilliant thing about LTX is that it now allows you to generate 20-second clips that are consistent. And as we can see in the example right here, well, we have really good consistency, and it feels like we have a real camera following the character. And if you use VO3 or Sora, well, you've already noticed that the characters sometimes do crazy things. And frankly, that's good news if we can have something consistent for 20 seconds. Another cool thing is that you can generate up to 50 frames per second, that is 50 images per second, which also allows us later in editing to be able to do slow motion. You can also output and create videos directly in 4K, which allows us to get a super sharp result. And let's not forget that the audio is really well done based on my tests. And that's a real pleasure too, because sound design takes a huge amount of time, and also the lip syncing is also a big headache. So being able to generate characters that say your text exactly and who already have their mouths well synchronized, that's really great. But beyond that, LTX really hits hard. For example, here, it addresses one of the major problems of artificial intelligence. I'm not telling you anything new. When we currently generate a video, we get a 2D image, a series of 2D images that just play out. Well, this changes everything because we actually have depth extraction. This allows us to create rotational movements around elements in the video, which means we no longer have a somewhat shaky interpretation, but rather a sense of depth and the ability to rotate around an element that was generated in video by the AI. Let's also not forget that we can, just like with Kling motion, well, extract positions and movements from our video and reapply them to characters. This is probably their answer to Kling motion, which in itself is already really exceptional. Then we have the standard features for camera control. Well, really, all video generators do this, so we won't necessarily dwell on this part. But on the other hand, when generating videos, we manage to maintain consistency in the characters and also in the style. And that honestly is a real relief. And this example is quite striking because we can clearly see that the same character is present on camera. And we can clearly see that the element here, the red patch, is present every time in the videos. On the left and on the right, same here. And here we can also see that she has her scarf, the same look, the same smile. And as you can see here, the camera movement is super interesting. And that is possible in particular thanks to what I showed you just here. Another incredible point is that you'll be able to train your own LoRAs. If you don't know what LoRAs are, I invite you to watch my last video about image generation using artificial intelligence locally. A LoRA is simply a model that you train and specialize to generate a specific style or particular characters. And thanks to that, thanks to LTX2, you'll be able to train your own LoRAs and integrate and use them, whereas with Sora 2 or VO3, you always have to use their own style. Here you can infuse your own style. Here we also have some super interesting upscaling. If you have videos that are blurry and poorly defined, you should normally be able to get this kind of result. As usual, you have to be careful. What's shown on a website's landing page is generally the best of the best, and it's very possible that when we generate it ourselves, we won't get this kind of result. Another interesting thing that actually came with Kling 01 is the ability to re-edit videos. And it allows for that as well. You input your original footage here and then you describe something else. And as you can see, it interprets it very well. And according to their comparison with WAN 2.2, which is honestly not very fair because they should be comparing it to Kling instead, here we have a very high-performing AI. It can all be connected via API, and of course, it's open source. So how can we start testing it for free? You go to the login section here, and you'll be able to log in with your Google account. Once you're logged in, well, you're going to click on this button here, Try LTX2 Now, which will open this section here that's called the Playground. And then you get credits, which will allow you to test it and generate 2 videos. In this case, what's interesting is that you'll be able to choose between the Pro model or the Fast model, and then you'll be able to choose a duration of up to 20 seconds, for example, the resolution up to 4K, the FPS, the audio, and if you want, the camera movement. Here in my example, I asked it to generate a black and white image with a character discovering frescoes. And if we look at the result here, well, it's pretty good. We really have transitions and an atmosphere worthy of old black and white movies. But if we also look closely and pay attention, I'll show you, there are still some small errors here and there. Here, look closely at the hand in this spot. There, you can see the hand is unnatural and it's totally deformed. And yet, I'm using the Pro model, whereas just before, they were boasting about super faithful, super interesting results. So as usual, you still have to be a little wary. On this same interface, you can click here to call LTX directly with the API. You'll get your API key, and if you want, you can take it and connect it and go to a vibe coding site and tell it, yes, I want you to generate an image or video generator with this and that interface, and you'll use this API key. And right away, you'll have your own interface to also generate images using the API. Next, we continue with the famous LTX2 test. Again, with the Pro configuration, I'm asking it for a manga animation, and when you see this, you realize that it's really, but really not its strong suit. The result is very messy, the character has 4 legs. Anyway, well, it's still pretty disappointing. However, if we go for a realistic style here, you'll see, it's actually pretty good. The goal was to generate a person who is in Antarctica, inside a tent, and who is observing a kind of sarcophagus. So we do have this kind of sarcophagus here. We don't know why there's a fan spinning in this spot. There, and we see the same character again. And yet, as you can see, I did use the LTX2 model and the model that is listed here as Pro. So well, for 2D, it's really not that great. And for realistic, why not? It can give us some sets of results. What's really interesting here is that the camera movement is very natural and the image itself is also very natural. And we can get very high resolutions. Now, how can you run it, for example, on your computer? So as usual, you should expect that running videos will take some time. But if you have a powerful machine, or if you have powerful servers, it can be interesting. You see here, you can download this model directly. As usual, we find ourselves directly on Hugging Face, which is really the site for hosting models and LoRa's. And there, you can directly find all the elements you need to install LTX2. For those who are really comfortable with Mac, you have PyTorch here and the procedure to directly install LTX2 and be able to start generating videos right away. Otherwise, for everyone who has ComfyUI here, you will have nodes that you can install on the site. You just have to click here and you'll get the entire tutorial on how to run it. What I also want to show you, for those who aren't looking to run this on their computer, because it's still quite a hassle and all, it's still important to read all this documentation to see what the tools are. And very often in that section you will find other tools. Here, for example, I have the demo to go directly to the image to video version. If I click on it, indeed, now I'll be able to upload an image and then enter my prompt. So let's go. Is the result better when we give it an image? And perhaps that's where it will make all the difference. So we're providing an image as input. In this case, as you can see, it's a quality image generated with Nano Banana. And then, of course, we enter our prompt. Something super interesting here is that we have a lot of characters to generate a prompt. We have up to 5,000 characters. It may sound silly, but it's extremely important. The more room you have to put in text and prompts, the more you can achieve what you're actually looking for. I'll choose the Pro model again. I'm on 8 seconds, 1080p, and here we go. So regarding the prompt, it was generated and validated directly by ChatGPT and adapted for LTX. As you can see, I want a camera progression, a medium shot with the character rubbing his face, then a fairly slow movement. We get closer to the character and we see his hands a bit. He's getting a little stressed. Then a close-up on his face where he's panicking, and then suddenly he lifts the sheet and actually contemplates the horror. He's shocked and he's going to say, "Oh my god." I give it some indications about the style. Of course, cinematic, horror. And honestly, I see the progress bar moving forward and it still looks extremely fast. In any case, from the tests I ran before, the videos were generated really quickly. And here we go, let's watch the video together and see the result. Yes. Oh, he said it a little too soon, but the action is pretty good. So here we could simply say yes, it's only 8 seconds, the prompt was too big, no problem. This whole part is in any case pretty good. Now, as usual, we see a few small errors, and that's why I also took this kind of image. Here we see his shadow starting to move off the screen. So as usual, generating videos with artificial intelligence also means accepting that there are flaws and cutting out the parts we need. And so, personally, I would select this part up to here. And quite honestly, looking at the image definition, it's actually pretty good in terms of wrinkles, in terms of skin. While the hair texture is a bit peculiar, the fabric textures around it are absolutely brilliant. You can't just cast the first stone at a video generator after just a few tests. You know this, but if you follow me, I really encourage you to generate several videos each time to sort through them and take the best one. And in this case, that's the work that would need to be done with LTX2, but also with any video generator. And that's regardless of whether your prompt was checked by Gemini, ChatGPT, and so on. We'll finish with one last element. We're going to run all of this directly on LTX2. So we leave the playground here, which is connected to the API, and we arrive directly at this spot here. We'll be able to generate videos. We'll drop our prompt in again. We're in standard, we're not in retake. If you activate retake mode, that's the mode that will allow you to directly edit your videos. I'll choose LTX2 Pro here. The movement, well, we won't add any. Audio, we'll turn it on, 8 seconds, 1080p. I might even set it to 10 seconds, and here we go. We'll generate, we want just one result. While this image is being generated, I'm also going to take the opportunity to use the video editor. I'll go to the video section here and I'll choose Retake. I'll remove my prompt, of course, and I'm going to import the video it just generated for us. It will then ask me to modify and select, for example, 4 seconds of the video. So I'm going to take this whole part and I'm going to say that he's no longer in the tent and that he's outside, for example, under a blue sky. I simply tell it the character is no longer in a tent. He is outside. Beautiful blue sky. Keep his behavior and his action. This way we'll see if the artificial intelligence understands a very simple intention. It's also important for all tools to let you avoid constantly racking your brain with prompts that are 4 kilometers long. We'll be able to observe the new generation that I've created. As usual, the shadow keeps moving around. Okay, the acting is very, very bad. But the image and the blur and the camera movement, how good is that? Okay. He said the, oh my god, not really how I wanted, but that's okay, from there. Oh my god. Okay, if we exclude the mouth movement and so on, the image is still pretty crazy. Here, it's blurry. Here, it's well done. Here, it's very natural. The camera movement is absolutely brilliant. But, well, we still have a shadow moving around. We still have slightly strange hair. And the acting here of the character is really, really bad. In itself, it's not a big deal because you are among the users and everyone will report this to them in the coming days. So it's not unreasonable in a month or 6 weeks to see what will happen and how this tool will evolve. Because it's really, really good in terms of camera movement. And that's not something every tool can do. And let's look at the modification here. So it happens towards the end. It should happen around here. Okay. We keep the behavior. Yeah, that could be pretty good. It's actually very clean in terms of the background, the colors, and so on. Here, it's because the example isn't necessarily super crazy. So I haven't studied the audio behind this video, but you should know that the audio is extremely well synchronized. Here, especially on this video that I generated with dogs, the barking is very well done. The atmosphere is very well done. And that's really what I perceive in this tool. The camera here, it's truly cinematic and really beautiful. Look right here, the snow is pretty well done. So the dogs aren't done very well and it doesn't make sense to have these big chains behind them. But the depth and the atmosphere it has, it really feels like a movie. And here it's the same, the movements, this atmosphere here with this blur at the beginning, it's still extremely well done. But, well, as you can see from the different tests I've run, the results are still a bit wonky. What happened there with the character? We don't know. But this part, in terms of camera, is super good and the image resolution too. So, what's interesting with this tool, I think, is that right now, it's not about bothering to use it, but rather waiting for all the users to have reported these kinds of issues so they can continue to improve their AI. However, if the AI is improved, I think it could be a really, really, really good competitor because the camera movements are absolutely brilliant. The motion blurs, the editing of the image itself, and also the atmosphere that is automatically generated are really very good. What I recommend is to keep an eye on it. Don't bother, in my opinion, getting a subscription right now. Let's wait for the new versions and improvements and also the rollout of all their features. Because currently we only have access to text to video and image to video. And yet, as you've seen, there are other options that will surely be unlocked, maybe today or in the coming days, and which allow, as shown on the site's landing page, to improve the quality of your videos and so on. There you go, and for all those who want to improve their skills and really know how to use the right tools, I really recommend you read the description where I share all my tools. And also, you can try our community on School for free, where you'll find a really, really, really high level of skill in generating images and videos with AI. This is a completely transparent opinion, just so you know. There's no need to bother testing it. As usual, we want to see a new AI tool, test it, and get the hang of it. We get all the marketing thrown at us, and we think it's an incredible tool. And I do think it will be an incredible tool, that's very clear. But right now, for the time being, no, it doesn't really pass the tests. In the meantime, take care of yourself and your projects. Ciao.